This is my Ferris revision project with the Green Man. Throughout the books, we get to see this reference appear a ton in M.L. Ferris's My Favorite Thing is Monsters. The first reference was right away when Karen is being chased by the MOB in her dreams at the beginning. The Green Man is brought to our attention but never referenced, as it looms above the apartment and has a strong presence there. The second reference appears later when Karen is interested in the basement cellar tunnels and goes to the door. Here, another Green Man is seen, large on the frame, but still never directly referenced, as its head takes up a big chunk of the door. This Green Man comes up when Karen has the feeling that there were secrets around her that is needing to be solved, showing some mystery behind the Green Man. The next one wasn't on some building or door, and it was seen when Karen was dreaming and looked through Annika's bullet hole. It was one of the pictures she saw. And then diving into the second book, this reference to the Green Man wasn't actually in the story, but it was one of the chapter/magazine covers for the section of the reading. More Green Men to come soon. Because finally, we get a proper acknowledgement of these Green Man heads. We see them when Karen finally points them out. She says that they looked like they were laughing at her. Karen also points out how they are located everywhere, even on the door from 2 slides ago. When Karen goes back down to that cellar door, she also gives the Green Man head an acknowledgement, even saying it was creepy, similar to how she had been noticing them on the last slide. Karen even says she doesn't know why they're there and would ask Dees. Then finally, this last reference to the Green Man is seen when Karen is sneaking down to that basement tunnel with her friends. She has a key from earlier with another Green Man head and goes to the Green Man door. There are no direct acknowledgements, though, or context for this. The actual reference of the Green Man is a hard one to trace down. Being so old and mysterious to many places, it creates multiple reasons for its existence and what it is actually trying to represent and symbolize. These Green Men seem to primarily be a part of church architecture, and according to historicuk.com, the Green Man was first used by Lady Raglan in March 1939 in an article she wrote for the Folklore Journal. Before this, they had just been known as folate heads, and no one had paid them attention. This account also suggests that the Green Man was the central figure of the May Day celebrations throughout Northern and Central Europe, as the Green Man is also portrayed with acorns and hawthorn leaves, symbols of fertility in medieval times. This would seem to reinforce the association with spring. However, that creation of it isn't necessarily official, as other sources tend to create other reasons. Larrington, from the article The New Yorker, had said it had been shown not to exist. It was rather invented in 1939 for a world which was beginning to need him. A world which people were gradually realizing how industrialization was stealthily degrading our planet. This creates a lot of uncertainty about how its representation was truly meant for. Diving into the actual legend can help solidify the use for them inside churches from the original The Golden Legend, where Adam appears to us in a green man who is overtaken by time and foliage. As the account unfolds, we see that upon Adam's demise, his son, Seth, placed 3 kernels beneath his tongue, kernels that had sprung from the fruit of the tree of mercy, otherwise the tree of life. That's from the symbolworld.com, and this gives its church-related meaning some more context. The Green Men are also usually found in high places so that they are always looking down upon us. As we dive into one of its forms of symbolization, it is a symbol of cyclical time. It can represent a sort of force god, an emblem of the birth, death, rebirth cycle of the natural year. The symbolworld.com says this is also why he appears in transitionary places, being outside and looking down from ceilings. The placement of these images is symbolically meaningful and not at all arbitrary. Even the Green Man looking down from his heights is an important aspect of his placement. On top of this, when looking at the Green Man's physical design being covered in foliage with leaves, it can represent that he looks down below at men, reminding us that, exiled east of Eden, We are in a place of liminality where chaotic change occurs again and again. Another symbolization of the Green Men presented from the New Yorker article was when Dinshaw said, traces of the Green Man, specifically as he used by radical fairies, a group founded in 1979 by gay men in the U.S., inspired by lesbian feminist collectives. The fairies, who are still active, hold maypole rituals, exposing Raglan-esque pagan performances as paths into the spiritual dimensions of sexual liberation. Radical fairies' appropriation of the Green Man imagery is to challenge settlers' colonial logic. Due to its seemingly random nature of its true origin with its variety of stories and its seemingly random pop-ups within the story by Ferris, it's hard to fully know what version of the Green Man Ferris was thinking about when including them. In the first half, when the Green Man appears, it seems that they are just there aesthetically. But it is strange why they keep popping up while never actually referenced. Finally, Karen does acknowledge it, saying how she has noticed them around her town, even becoming curious about them as she wants to ask Dees. I think that it could simply be this old relic that just happens to be in the story due to its setting. However, when diving into a few of the specific symbolizations of them, we can perhaps see some more specific reasons for these green men and how they can relate to Karen and the story. When in her dreamland, Karen looked through Anka's bullet hole and saw a green man. Despite Karen not knowing what these were, it can really represent that birth-death recycle idea of the green men, as here was Anka dead, but yet something new is born within Karen. It shows that life is going on. When envisioning that whole story through Anka's wound, that instance of the green men can hold a special truth that Karen has yet to discover. The next use is really just the presence that this symbol has around Karen, especially when Karen questions the green men. When looking at the green man's uses inspired by lesbian feminist collectives, it can help make some connections to Karen's personality. Being of the same group/ideologies of this symbol, the green man itself has been there to reflect Karen's true personality that even she has been questioning. That's why this panel works so well with the green man and Karen's identity, as Karen questions what the green man is, just as she has been questioning her identity compared to what everyone else seems to have thought about that. Then this last use comes into play when we look at the idea of the green man as from earlier. He looks down below at men, reminding us that we are in a place of liminality where chaotic change occurs again and again. This is shown through Karen's uneasy moment, despite being in a dream, how things can change. All of a sudden, she was being chased, which is a great example of that chaotic change. The placement of the frames with the green man at the top of the page helps to add that idea that the green man is truly looking down on her as well, which adds this use to the green man. So, throughout Ferris's work, the green man shows up multiple times. Despite being a symbol common to these settings, there can still be multiple meanings pulled out of its uses within the text. Diving into the green man's symbolization of the birth, death, rebirth cycle, we can see how it can symbolize the death of characters such as Mama and Anka, but yet the birth of Karen's true personality and growing friendships as things come and go throughout the story. Other symbolization of the green man can really help understand that Karen's personality throughout the green man's uses inspired by the lesbian feminist collective, as Karen is one of the same ideology and it's been around her this whole time. And with the green man's characteristics also holding the idea that we are in a place of liminality where chaotic change occurs again and again, we can see how events have changed. Karen has had to readjust, change her life multiple times, creating this foreshadowing all around her apartment as these green men are always there. These green men have multiple reasons that can all be made true in different parts of the story, which makes the green men's use really unique and can help symbolize the different parts of the story as a whole. The end.